I'm Jason Klom, and this is the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. The year is 1965, the album You Don't Have to Be Jewish, the artist Bob Booker and George Foster. My guest this week is the delightful Lisa Popeil. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for asking.
So, we talked about this briefly, but I obviously sought you out because I was very sad when I missed getting to see the No Strings Attached tour, and therefore getting to see you perform in a song about your own father, which has got to be a very weird experience. So, because for those who don't know, you probably know that I'm a huge Weird Al fan. For those who do not know, Lisa sings. You sing on the original album. You sing background for Mr. Popeil, and then you perform with Al among many other people. But
well, it all started in, I believe it was in 1983, and he was recording the In 3D album. And I got a call from his manager, Jay Levy, to see if I'd be interested in singing on this song. And it's really about my dad, Seymour, SJ, Sam Popeil, and my brother, Ron Popeil, and any other marketer of silly late night TV items that every home needs to have. So it was a general pay on to late night television hawking, and it was based on the B-52's Rock Lobster song.
Right.
So we tried to match that silly, really, Mr. Popeil, Mr. Popeil. And then I've sung on a number of his albums over the years, and when we've been friends all these years. And a couple years ago, Al called and asked if I would be interested in singing on tour with him. He'd never toured with backup singers before.
Right, yeah.
He went over the top. He'll never be able to. All his shows will be great. I've talked to his fans, and I've said to them, "What's it going to be like when he doesn't have a full orchestra and backup singers and the lights?" And it was just so over the top, massive. They said, and several people said to me, "Whatever he does, we're going to love it because we know he's put a lot of thought into it, and we know it's going to be great." So
it's true.
What could I say about that? And so many people would come up to me after the show and just be very emotional. Thank you for the magic. It was very moving.
I love it. It's so good.
So I'm glad it happened last year, and we got to have such a successful tour, and to be able to have that, experience that life, even though none of us were in our 20s, the geezer tour, but to be able to sleep on a tour bus, who gets that experience,
Right, yeah.
And we were treated really nice. It was a real nice family environment. We all took care of each other, and we had really nice hotel rooms to boot. So it was one of the great experiences of my life, and I'm so grateful to have had that opportunity.
So good. Al, we talk about it a lot that, not only is everybody in Al's band, including Al, incredibly talented musicians, but you have to be a talented mimic. And you were just talking about having to, imitate the sound of the B-52s. Is that something that comes up a lot in your work? Because you also coach voice, but I mean, is it something that you have to do, ever think about as mimicry or? Well,
I think I've always been a mimic. And originally I loved languages. So when I was a kid, I was one of those annoying kids who was making up languages and imitating other languages and doing dialects. In fact, my first job, I was 8 years old, and I played a little boy, a Portuguese boy, Brazilian boy for some Christian radio show. And I remember receiving my first check, and that was very exciting. I thought,
oh my gosh.
I want to do more of this. So I've always been interested in mimicry and trying to get it as precisely as I can. And how that's turned into how I use that in my teaching is trying to have mastered vocal styles.
Sure.
And how to teach vocal styles so that if I sing country or I sing R&B or I sing opera, I want it to sound like a completely different person.
Okay.
And so I've reverse engineered to the best of my ability what great singers in each of these individual styles are doing. I would mimic them and figure out what they were doing and watching them sing live and just absolutely mimicking them both visually and sonically,
Mm-hmm.
and then able to pass that on. So I turned a little quirk into a big part of what I do as a teacher.
Did you ever have trouble knowing what your own voice was? Because I can only sing by mimicking, so I have trouble sometimes recognizing my own singing voice,
I
like
don't
knowing what
think
it
we
is.
have one voice. I mean, think about Rich
Fair.
Little. Think about people who can
True.
sound, or Bill Hader. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what he can do with his voice. So we can sound like helicopters and lawnmowers and animals, and we can sound like men or women or children or dinosaurs. So I'm not of the school that thinks that you have a singing voice. You have a voice that may come out if you just sort of talk, and then when you sing, it sounds like your talking voice. That is just one of the myriad things that humans can do with their voices. And then there's culture. When you look at what are the styles that are considered, or what is considered beautiful singing or
Mm-hmm.
talented singing, it changes from culture to culture. I
True.
remember once years ago, I was watching this TV show. It was in China, and there was this guy in a white Nehru jacket, skinny young Chinese guy, white Nehru jacket with a, a, a boa around his neck.
Love
And
it.
he was making sounds that were considered pop music at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
they were nothing like our pop music. And
Sure.
his vibrato was akin to our turkey gobble.
Amazing.
What's considered cool or impressive is culturally related too. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just there's one universal sound that people revere. But I
Mm-hmm.
have to say that when I work with people, I love opera and I love black music. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
R&B, American, Black American music, African American music, however how many syllables you want to add. It does seem to be loved worldwide. And
Mm-hmm.
I find that really interesting. You really can't go wrong if you can sing soulfully with that kind of sound and if you can do the licks. You're
Mm-hmm.
pretty much in, people go, yeah, that's good.
That's interesting. That's pretty fascinating to me. How? What are there? We are going to get into the album, but I'm obviously super fascinated with so much of your whole life and your work. Honestly, I can't stop thinking about how you grew up in the house, the successful version of the Dad and Gremlins. If that's a reference that's at all going to play with you, because that guy was
No,
a
I'm gonna
terrible inventor.
I'm
But
gonna rewatch the movie then. No, because when you saw
yes,
it
the
came
lead
out,
guy there is like, here's a thing that does 12 different things, and here is a six. He clearly feels like he's modeled after your dad, but like doesn't know what he's doing, and it's great.
oh my goodness, as I have to watch that again.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with both my dad and my brother,
Mhm.
maybe more so with my dad because my dad started in the 40s, was that there was always a level of humor to it. There was an
Mhm.
earnestness about creating products and getting the most use out of them. Things like the Vegematic. It
Sure.
didn't just do one thing, or the pocket fisherman. You
Mhm.
had to look at all the benefits and to convince people that they needed to have this thing.
Of course.
And but I also know that when he would work on them and so maniacally, like a dog with a bone in his mouth, there
Hmm.
was also kind of a humor about it. Like, he knew it wasn't brain surgery.
Sure. Sure.
He
Yeah.
knew it wasn't going to bring world peace. So there was this, and he was Jewish, and that was kind of leading, to what we're going to
Of course.
be
Yeah.
talking about in part, which is Jewish humor and this sense that I know I'm being funny on some level, no matter what I do. I know I'm being funny about it, and so he had that as part of his personality. One time we were in the kitchen, and this was in the 70s, and we were making dinner, and we were chopping vegetables for the salad. And is a story I've told before, but there were some mushrooms, and there weren't many. So I took the cutting board and a knife, one of his knives. I still
Uh-huh.
have it, still use it,
Yes.
unsharpened after all these years.
Love it.
It still works. And I would slice the mushrooms, and he said, well, don't you want to use the Vegematic? I said, but Dad, by the time I get the thing out of the box and I set it up and I rinse it and we get it back, I said, dinner will be over. And he said, really without laughing, he should have, but without laughing, he said, but don't you want perfect slices? I laughed. Okay, Dad. So we just took the time to make
Love
perfect
it.
slices out of the the 3 or 4 mushrooms I hadn't gotten to yet.
Holy cow. That's I mean, that's what you would hope for, and you don't assume happens with people. Is that kind of that level of self-awareness. But I think also it also comes with, I think, making a lot of stuff, or being in charge of the making of a lot of stuff. Speaking as someone who's made a billion things that have gone nowhere, but like making a bunch of things and keeping and trying, because that's what inventing is and creating is. Like, you have to have a sense of humor about it.
You do, because you don't know what will be successful. You really don't. I mean, some of my brother's best products, and my dad's too, weren't successful. And there's so many, just like in life, talent doesn't make success. Brilliance doesn't make success necessarily.
Sure.
Hard work doesn't. There's there's a timing. The planets have to line up.
Yeah.
But when you put your full self into it, you can't. I couldn't help but be impressed. Plus, I really appreciated that both my dad and my brother loved the work. They loved getting up and getting to work. And
Yeah.
I hadn't seen a lot of that. I hadn't seen a lot of people who really felt that their work was, that they were passionate about their work. And
Sure.
I'm passionate about my work. And I feel blessed, and it's burdened sometimes
Uh-huh.
to feel as passionate as I do. And you know what that feels like. It's like you put so much time, but you can't help it. You know, when you're
Right.
smart, I think when you're smart, your brain is on.
Yeah.
Even when I'm sleeping, the brain is on, but particularly when I'm awake, the brain is on. And if I'm not actively being creative or creating product or solving problems, which is how I thought about my dad's work, he was just solving problems one by one. I think that's what business is. It's just a matter of just a list of solving problems and then on to the next problem that you solve. That if our brains do not have an outlet for activity, it feels like the brain starts to eat itself.
Yeah.
And you get depressed and you get anxious and you mull over the same stupid, boring things over and over
For
again.
sure, yeah.
So I feel we have, some of us out there, for better or worse, have to be creative just to stay sane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely true. What's also striking me, by the way, because, not to say too much of what we've already had, like a lengthy conversation, and it could have gone on for an hour, because what is it that your family has? Because the thing is, there's an energy, there is, and I don't know if the salesmanship just came down to you, but like your energy, and obviously you're a vocal performer, but it's all there. And it's like, right now you could sell me just about anything. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what of your dads do you think you got? And your mother's, we can talk about your mother as well, but like, I'm just curious. Some of that must have come through as a performer.
My dad, it's the love of work, the love of solving problems, looking for problems that you can solve, problems that you didn't even know existed.
Fair, sure, yeah.
I don't have
this food is too wet. How do I make it drier?
I don't have an interest in the kitchen, though. So I must say, in our time of eating at home, I have a new appreciation for the kitchen, but I always wanted to. Wasn't interested in going to the family business. And to me, the family business implied that you'd spend a lot of time in the kitchen.
Fair.
And I just think that the fun that one can have. And another thing, my dad and Ron too, they love food. And my dad's whole family, they were really into food. And I don't know if that's a Jewish American thing, but especially when my dad was retired, he and his relatives and his friends, they would plan on where they were going for lunch, and they would talk. Then they would discuss over lunch in detail what they were having and how it compared to stuff. And then after lunch, they would talk about where they were going for dinner and compare all of that and the history of the food. So it was incredibly food oriented.
That sounds like the ideal life for me. This is amazing.
I do it. I didn't know if I could be happy sitting here making my own food, because I love going out to restaurants. That's one of the first things I want to do when we get back to some kind of quote unquote normal is restaurants, where I just get to experience everything about it, So I definitely got that. But my brother Ron, I saw him a few weeks ago. He's going to be 85 this year.
Wow.
and he is still working on a product. We're working on
Oh
it
my God.
at least 15 years. He's retired, but he can't stop. And I may
Sure.
wind up being the same. I go, oh yes, retirement is approaching. I must think about Mai Tais in Tahiti. But I don't think that's possible. I think I'll
Yeah.
be carrying on the family tradition of trying to teach or trying to find someone who wants to learn something about singing until I'm toes up.
Fair enough. I mean, stopping learning doesn't make any sense. What the fuck are you doing if you stop learning? You know,
But
you
it's
got to
so
keep
sad
going.
that we can't take it with us. I think
Yeah.
it's like, but I can pass it on. And so
Absolutely.
that's my legacy. I don't have children. So I feel like my work is my child, that I've been molding it for really over 50 years. I've been passionate about singing and trying to figure out how to be good, because I wasn't. I was totally average. And so everything I've learned from all the teachers I've had and the experimentation is I just wanted to be a good singer. I didn't need to be a famous singer. Well, in the 80s, yes, I did. I was a singer-songwriter, and I wanted to be big. I wanted, multimedia shows and touring and costumes and stylists and working with great musicians, and be able to call up my favorite be a fangirl, be able to call people up and have them take my call. It actually happened a couple times. So I'm a big Yes fan. And I got to work with John Anderson and do a clap track with Chris Squire. So that was a great day.
That's amazing.
And when I did an album, you'll never hear it. Well, that's not true, because I'm actually going to be putting it up on one of my fans. I actually have like 5 fans. One of them wants to put it up on YouTube. So
good.
All my 80s songs are going to be available on some probably CD Baby, maybe the album on YouTube. So I'm just revisiting my 80s life as a wannabe pop star. And like, instead of them just moldering on a closet shelf somewhere, I feel like I'm saying, no, you're good. You're good. Maybe I'm working with a music supervisor. Who knows? Maybe one or more will be in an upcoming movie, and that would make me very,
That'd be
very
amazing,
happy.
right? Oh my God,
that would be amazing.
A good product doesn't go bad. That's and that's it's the same with music. So was your father? What generation American was your father?
Well, he was born in 1915, and he was. I just found his draft card from World War II. He didn't go. Flat feet, bad vision. I got both of those too.
Fun.
And he really started. He and his brother didn't finish high school. They just started working. The Depression era, I should say. And I think Depression era, New York, Brooklyn, makes you think a lot about money, money and food. That was the, very, and status.
Sure.
Status without having had the benefit of an education. So that was, I remember going to a carpet store with him when I was little, and he told the salesman, he said, I really like this carpet, but show me your best one. Meaning, what's your most expensive carpet?
Sure.
And the salesman showed him the most expensive because he goes, well, that's what I'll take. This is Depression era who suddenly has money. I'll just take the most expensive thing you have, and that'll make me happy. So
yeah. That's fascinating. Where were his parents from? I'm always curious about like what how many levels removed you are from the old
Europe,
country, as it were.
The old country. His parents were both born in New York, so it's his grandparents. I think his grandparents came over. I've been doing genealogy, and I've hit a few brick walls. There are a number of Samuel Popeils in the records, Jacobs, Isaacs, all the biblical names, multiple ones with similar birth dates. So if you have any Jewish genealogy people out there, please give me a call. I want to talk to you because I really just want to get at least one more generation back. But it's Polish, Jew, Galicia. All the paperwork says Austria, though, but that's because for a time that area was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Yeah.
But we now think of it as Polish, Jew, and maybe some little Ukrainian or Lithuanian in there. That's his side of the family. And then my mother was of a hillbilly from Alabama, from Irish, mostly Irish.
Okay.
I think they go back to the U.S. in the 1700s. So it was the first group of the Irish Scots people who settled in Appalachia in the 1700s.
Okay.
And that's why I got the eyes. That did not come from the Jewish side.
When did you first hear, let's get into it, You Don't Have to Be Jewish. When did you first hear that album?
It was a fan. We had albums,
Just sitting around, yeah.
Yeah, we had Xavier Cugat, which I loved, and Connie Francis singing songs from Italy, folk songs from Italy, and we had this "You Don't Have to Be Jewish" record, and I enjoyed it a lot when I was a kid. I was 1965, so I'd have been 9 years old, and some of the shtick, some of the I don't know, what do you call them? And they're not clips. What do you call them?
Well, I mean, I always call them clips or the tracks or whatever you want to call it. But they actually had a term for the small ones. Yeah, the bits. Yeah, a bit. Oh, okay,
that's a good one. So several of the bits I had remembered, like the Platnik diamond. There's a voice with the Platnik diamond. Really? What is it? Mr. Platnik. I mean, kills me. And so after we spoke, I listened to it again and just appreciated the timing of these people.
Oh, yeah.
The dialect, this American Yiddish dialect that is just, I don't know why it's so funny.
Right.
Do you know why it's funny?
You know, now here's the thing. I think about it a lot, but not being Jewish myself, like I hesitate to try and analyze it too much because then it comes from this dumb goy outsider perspective that I don't think isn't as accurate or important to think about as a Jewish person's perspective. But all I know is that for me, it's informed all the comedy since before I was born. So it's in everything that I watch. Inevitably, from a Jewish writer or not, or performer. I think it's in there now.
I agree. It's fascinating to see, and I don't know how similar it is to old country humor or necessarily the Yiddish theater because I never experienced that in the 1800s or early 1900s. I just know starting really around, I guess, the 20s. Is when this humor that went through the 60s really happened, where people still, like Blue Jacoby, would still have this accent. You don't hear it much anymore, even among the Orthodox or the Hasidics. It's not as strong as it used to be.
Right.
But the timing, that's always gets me. It's like, Mr. Plotnik, you have to get it, the melody just right, and the time, you can't rush it.
What's funny is I was watching it, just because it was easier to just watch it on YouTube. And as it ended, I didn't realize it had ended immediately, because what happened immediately was there was a Myron Cohen bit. And that's a man who's a master of both, like, switching in and out of the accent.
Well, the melody is different. That's
for sure. Yes, definitely.
Melody. So melody plays a huge part in, well, obviously in humor, but in different languages. So that's it's a big part of because I also teach accent reduction. So I work with people, a lot of Persians. But so many different types. But I've had a number of Persians recently and Russians. And I'll do their melody. I'll speak American English with their melody, and then I'll show them our melody. So it's and that comes from the music ear, the mimic, able to. So when next time you listen to it, listen to see, I'm teaching. I can't help myself.
No, I love it.
If I'm online, I'm teaching about the melody, and you kind of can hum along with it and realize, that's not a melody that we typically use here.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
I don't know if I ever heard the sequel though. Did you have
No, and I was looking. I don't think I even own it. I own a lot of their albums just because I'm particularly fascinated, but I don't own it. I was wondering, when did that even come out? I had it pulled up, but
well, that's it's the same people though, right? The same people who did it.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the relationship between the people who did You Don't Have to Be Jewish or produced it and the first family? Didn't you mention there's some?
Yeah, so Bob Booker is the connecting piece, and he's still around. He lives in Northern California. I've been trying to get a hold of him. He, I think his first record was The First Family, then he did the sequel. Oh, yeah, and this is his third album. Yeah, this is his third album, and I'm actually trying to look and see if he's even technically credited. Yes, he is credited on the sequel, I think. But yeah,
And
he
is he
did
a
a few of them.
writer? Is he a producer?
Yes, he was a writer for sure. I don't think he performs on any of them. I'm not sure about Earl Dowd, his comedy. Well, or George Foster, sorry, because Earl Dowd was his comedy. Sorry, there's too many. He's the main
Okay,
focus.
so
Bob
there's a
Booker. Yeah.
group of writers who conceived these three records.
Yeah, these weird live performed sketch performances that I can't picture how they're put on at all. Because again, some of these are short bits where it's just like two people are just like talking and talking for 10 seconds and it's over. I don't know
I
how
was
it.
trying to imagine the room this was it a theater? There was
Right.
a lot of reverb. It seemed like they weren't in a. It was like almost like a gymnasium almost. I didn't, or was it a dinner theater? I was looking around to see if I could find out because the audience was fantastic.
Yes. Oh, they're digging it.
Perfect audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was trying to imagine, I was trying to visualize, where are they when they did this?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see. Sometimes they have the back of their. What am I doing? I literally own it. It's right here. I'm an idiot. Oh. I'm looking online to see if I can find something that's literally in front of me. Let's see here. Okay. Sound effects. Recording engineer. Album recorded live in mono at Fine Recording Studios in New York City. So just yeah, in a studio. Interesting. And there's so many. I mean, there are tons of there are names that maybe people don't recognize as much anymore, but faces for sure you would recognize on here. My goodness, there's a lot of people in here. There's one lady, Betty Walker, who had a few of her own albums, who is brilliant, really underappreciated and really funny. My God, there's so many. Jack Gilford.
Is Valerie Harper on?
She's on the sequel from what I saw because, pardon me, one of the folks couldn't make it onto the second one, but she's definitely in the sequel. For sure. Which, again, I think I'm going to need to pick up. So this was recorded in June 1965. So they just busted this out as fast as they recorded it. That's interesting.
Uh-huh.
It's funny that they just went right from, well, we can't make fun of the president as much anymore, not in the same way, obviously, so let's pick something else we know, which is Jewish culture, I assume, And I'm assuming these are based on old bits. Like, some of these feel very, tried and true and tested, and they're
that skills approved.
Right, exactly. And a lot of them are obviously Jewish mother jokes. That's what so many of them are.
I love that Jewish mother bit about, does that mean you're not coming?
It's such a good bit. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, the whole thing is just built upon Jewish mother's guilt, just laying it on so thick. Wait, do I have the right number? Oh, that's so good. Oh, it's a brilliant bit. That's really, really fun. What resonated the most for you as a kid? Was it just this is funny, or did you recognize any familial stuff? Yes. Did it feel familiar to you?
It did, because of my father's relatives.
Mm-hmm.
They'd say beautiful, which typically has 3 syllables. They would say beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
They would give it at least 4, that sort of thing. But so it was semi-familiar, not necessarily in my household.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that kind of talking, but
sure.
But humor, definitely. My dad had a really dry sense of humor, and I noticed when I'm talking to when I talk to my sister Pamela, that Jewishy humor comes out in me, and I have to be careful about it because it has a critical side to it, a little put down element in it, and all the show words, schmuck, schlemiel, these are this, these are that, everybody's stupid, and so I have to be a little careful because I don't know if my humor is always going to be appreciated. At least that part of my humor.
Right.
But in my workshops, I think I just let loose, and people say, Lisa, you should have a stand-up show. I said, why? Because you're so funny. I said, I am, because I'm not aware of it. I'm just on. I'm just on, and I'm enjoying being with all these people, and I don't listen back to what I said. Sometimes I just find myself laughing. So that I became associated with Weird Al and Frank Zappa. To me, Frank Zappa, it's just odd to me that I got associated with humorous content through no actual pursuing on my own. Like my work with Al, such as it is it came from a phone call. I was in in a magazine called Los Angeles Magazine, and I was trying to, had a publicist, and I had my name and bio, and he was in the next column over, and so he saw me, and they go, oh, I think I'll write a song about that, and maybe she'll come and she'll sing on it.
Love it.
And then the whole Frank Zappa thing was a complete fluke. I didn't know his music. I went to Cal Arts. I don't know. You have a relationship with Cal Arts?
Yes. I'm working there at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I was at Cal Arts for 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
From 1976. And then I graduated with a master's in voice in 1980.
My goodness.
And so a bunch of Cal-Artians, I love that term, Cal-Artians worked for Frank Zappa. And my boyfriend, who was a fan, was a drummer and wanted to audition for the upcoming tour. So I just went to help give him some moral support. Wound up, long story, don't need to hear it, but unless you're a Zappa fan, and you probably heard the story before, and I just auditioned, and I can do certain things, and I can't do certain things. What I can do is I can sight read piano.
Wow, okay.
And singing, but piano is like, people, she sings, and she can sight read anything, anything he put in front of me, I would sight read.
Wow.
Like typing. To me, it's just like typing. But what I can't do, and is a fatal flaw, is memorize, and particularly memorizing 4 hours of essentially unplayable piano music, and be able to transpose and work. It was on synthesizers. It was like one of the first years where they had the most primitive synthesizers, so everything had to be programmed in.
Oh yeah.
And so that didn't work out, but I did give it my best shot, and I really realized early on in rehearsals that what I was there for was to make Frank laugh. So he'd say, do you have a saxophone? And I'd say, no. He says, well, get one. So I borrowed a saxophone, could not get a sound out of it except some strange honk. So I made it into a comedy thing. I would play a honk, and then I would sing a high D, and then which I don't even have anymore, and then I'd honk again, and then he'd fall off of his seat, and I knew, okay, I did good today. Or I brought my violin, which I also cannot play. I had one though, and I would make terrible sounds and then sing something funny, and then he'd laugh, and then I'd feel somewhat vindicated that I wasn't just taking up his time and pocketing the very nice check I was receiving.
Sure.
So, but aside from just, I guess I'm kind of funny, but not intentionally really, or not with a career in mind. I just now am associated with these two comedic, musicians who happen to both be geniuses.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, because when people write me and because they're a fan, I say, okay, Zappa or Weird Al, because there's not a lot there's some that is a crossover, but they're very different kinds of people.
Sure.
I see some crossover, but I don't think they necessarily see the crossover. But.
Right. I mean, I know there's at least a minor influence on Al. He did one Zappa style song.
Was it in the Poodle
Just
Hat
one.
album?
Yes, right. Hardware Store.
I sang on that.
Yes, of course you did. Of course you did.
So Hardware Store is like a Zappa?
That's what everybody says. Here's the thing. I am the worst at music. I can sing fine, but I cannot spot a damn thing. I have to read through I have to read through notes saying, oh, that's what it's referencing. Every once in a while I'll catch it and I'll feel very proud of myself. But the rest of the time I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's Zappa. No idea. I still haven't heard much Zappa my whole life.
I don't think it's that one. I think it's another one. What about in Paris?
Hold on. Genius in France. Maybe that's why my brain is.
I think that's it.
Yep, I think you're right. That makes more sense. Yes. No, because Hardware Store is I don't remember who it was supposed to be. You're right. Thank you. Well, there are going to be people who are angrily tweeting at me, and hopefully, thank you. You fixed that. One hopes. See, this is what I'm saying. I don't know anything about music. So off of You Don't Have to Be Jewish, which again would be worth a listen again. Of course, I'm digging through. I'm like, God, I hope all these performers are Jewish. I know that most of them are.
I read that they all were except Valerie Harper.
Except for Valerie Harper. Harper. That's so funny. Do you have a favorite bit or even a favorite character or a favorite kind of running thing
I
through
like
this?
anything that Lou Jacoby's doing. I love his
Oh,
bits.
yeah.
But I guess the plot, the diamond.
Mm-hmm.
And what's great too about the YouTube is that they have the different bits by title, and I think they also have who's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really helpful to see the names of the cuts. And then the mother-in-law, anything with the mother-in-law, I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I like the first album. Almost everything is just especially at the beginning, the first side. Everything's stellar, and I do hope people give it a listen if they have. And I find that it's so clean. It's clean. It's just got enough meanness in it to be, what's the word, authentic.
Sure.
But not really. There's something clean and wholesome about it. Which I enjoy. And I am going to go listen to the sequel because I don't know if I heard it if we had it in the house or not.
Were there other comedy albums floating about in the house growing up?
Not that I remember.
Wow, this is the one.
That's the one.
I love it. Because we've talked too before. I've had people on who, like me, are the least Jewish person on the planet, but they still would grow up with some Jewish humor in the house. And I'm always like, so what do you think? Like, why'd your parents get it? What drew people in? Because like Alan Sherman had a huge, huge following, and they weren't all Jewish folks. So it's one of those things where you try and figure out what are people relating to that is not so specific as Yiddish inflection, Yiddish words, cultural. Like there's something in there, and I'm still trying to figure out what it is that is drawing non-Jews in. I mean, I find it hilarious, but.
Well, you can be honorary because I thought you were.
Oh, well, see, I'll take that. My friend Brett.
It is a compliment, a mitzvah.
I did at one point ask my friend, who is my producer of a show that I'm in every month. I'm like, all I've ever wanted was to just grow up and be an old Jewish man. Can you make me an honorary Jew? And he said, sure, you're honorary. Thank you so much. So that's the second person.
I second that.
Twice. I will take it. I will say, I also really loved, and what's funny is I've seen this same bit done recently as a video starring Phil Rosenthal, former guest on the show, secret agent James Bondstein, which is so silly and builds up to a very dumb punchline. My God, it's a 6-minute sketch. It's a 6-minute sketch where he's just where it's all about egg creams. I mean, it's the most Jewish thing maybe on the whole thing.
New York. It's a very New York
yes,
thing. We're talking about egg creams.
and it's so, and just obviously trying to, because James Bond was so huge at the time. I don't know, that bit really for some reason.
Well, I have a question for you. I have a question.
Please.
Have you cracked the nut on what makes funny?
No. And I don't know if I'm debating whether I ever would want to try, because I would be the last person who could. Not the last person, but some people, like, we definitely overanalyze comedy on some episodes of this show. That doesn't ruin it for me. For me, that's part of the magic. The analysis, the parallel I try to draw is we know what chemicals make us feel that we're in love, but that doesn't make love any less magical. So to me, knowing what makes comedy funny is, but honest to God, no. And I've had
articles about it, and people have written dissertations on the topic, which are totally not funny, but outline all the kinds of humor there is, and it's interesting. But when you're just laughing your head off, it's. I love your analogy about being in love. It's something is. And I'm okay not knowing. I really am. And I think it's such a big part of your life. I thought maybe you had it all figured out.
I think it's the same as love in terms of, I think we're always just going to be thinking about it and always trying to figure it out. And that's probably also, for me, it's part of it. Like, because I enjoy comedy more. I know I've heard and seen comedians say, oh, I can't watch comedies. And to me, that sounds like the most pretentious shit I've ever heard. Just to be frank, I'm like, well, then why did you get into comedy if you don't watch comedy? Get over yourself for 5 seconds, because it is joy. It is literally a thing that is supposed to bring you joy.
There are a couple kinds of humor, though, that I've never liked.
I'm sure I've got some too, yeah.
I don't like people humiliating each other.
Fair.
Being physically violent. I just never yeah, being completely embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
They're completely embarrassed. But which leads into the second thing. There's a kind of nonviolent humiliation that happens, like when you get caught doing something
Mm-hmm.
and you're really, really nervous about being caught and you're trying to come up with some excuse to get out of hot water. That makes me very uncomfortable.
Oh
And
yeah.
yet that is still a very common comedic ploy or
Yeah.
tool. And I just get really nervous. So
Oh yeah, and I get anxious easy no matter what. So it's one of those things where
sensitive.
yeah. Uh-huh. So certain types of comedy where I'm like, it's fine if that's your thing, great. But yeah, some of that stuff absolutely throws me. And conflict is always a part of comedy, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't need the unnecessary extra
I don't know where
anxiety.
that line really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right. No, I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know. It's one of those things. Again, my favorite quote I think about comedy ever, and I'm gonna screw this up a little bit, is Mel Brooks saying that comedy is tragedy is I cut my finger on an envelope, and comedy is a man falls down a manhole in the city, where it's just drama just like takes this one small thing and expands it so much, and comedy is just dumb basic gut reaction to something. It's one of my favorite things. It's imperfect, but I still like it.
Mm-hmm.
What other comedy was in the house? So I'm wondering, what other kind of stuff did your parents find funny, or did you find funny that maybe they did or didn't? Maybe you had your own sense of humor. Some kids do. I didn't. Not
I
right
don't
away.
think I don't think I did. I was
Okay.
very serious,
Oh, all right.
very a little arrogant. Who says that, right? But I'm saying it. I felt like I didn't. I felt like an adult in a child's body
Sure.
from a very young age, and I've only felt childlike since I was considered an adult. So
Mhm.
I, it's not that I wasn't joyful. It's just, and I was, but I was. I don't think I was funny. I wasn't putting. I guess my sister and I would put on little skits. I think we did.
Mhm.
We may have. And I remember we had a governess a lady who lived with us and was really the second mom for
Mhm.
us, and woke us up in the morning and put us to bed at night. And she said, I was in love with Star Trek when I
Mhm.
was 10, 11. And she said, I would come in, I don't remember this, but I would come into her room and I would just tell stories and just go off into telling these stories about my space travels, or I do that
Love
because I
it.
don't remember it.
It's so
Um,
good.
I don't remember any other comedy except my mom and dad would just say funny things, just
Yeah.
little. And so I think some of the funniest things are when you just say one thing, just one little short thing, and the
Mhm.
pithiness of it is just funny. But I just remember that they were both funny people and they had their own sense of it. But I was a good audience. I'd say I was
Yeah.
a better listener when it came to them. And then they'd pick at each other. They the picking at each other, the bickering was funny.
Uh-huh.
Or when we have dinner, the four of us together, my sister and my parents, and my dad liked to rile us up. Now this was not fun, but he liked to rile us up and be very anti-female,
Okay.
just to see if he could get us upset.
Sure.
And invariably he did.
Mhm.
Dad, so that was it. Dad, don't, Dad, that's not.
Some dads like to do that. Some dads can be they know the right buttons to push. That's funny. You know what? It's the more I think about it too, I about how you ended up involved in in two acts that are obviously very comedic, two totally different types of comedic acts. I think there's something to be said for attention to detail, because comedic geniuses can also not necessarily be a-holes, but can be anal retentive for sure. And if it's not right, then it's not like screw you, but it's like you can't help me, because comedy depends on specificity. And I feel like somebody who's a mimic and who has that kind of like knowledge of music must have been a huge draw.
Yes, it was really nice to be able to play with people who if not outright demand. I mean, Frank Zappa would demand a level of musicianship that you think, I can't do that. I
Right.
can't. But then you try and you
Mm-hmm.
try and you try harder until you think you can do something that you didn't know that you would ever be able to do. With Al being really, and I don't say this as just a compliment, but as a known fact that, major EQ, that I would want to be as, I'd want to please both of them, but I'd want to please Al so he would hear what they both needed to hear, what they wanted to hear. They both knew what they wanted. In that way, they had it in common. So I always wanted to make sure I was delivering and pleasing the boss. That's how
Sure.
even last year on the tour, we would call him the boss because we were there. And I, even though I feel like I'm the queen of my world, in Al's world, I feel like an employee.
Sure.
And I want to bring to his world my very best, for all the different kinds of reasons that one wants to do that. And I think we all the musicians have felt that way. I want to, and even though he's not in no way demanding, and he often wants other musicians' opinions, because on some level I think because he wasn't educated as a musician, he's a self-taught. I mean, yes, he played accordion and well, but he didn't have the mass. I think the whole college thing was intimidating in some level. So he would ask, for opinions, but in the end, he would do what he wanted to do, and we would, if I'd bring a group in to sing backup, like on Hardware Store, a bunch of the other songs that we had a group. He was very kind and respectful about all our different experiences and backgrounds, and would ask us. But in the end, we just, whatever I said, we just did it. It was always not my way. It was always his way, which was fine.
Of course. I'm interested in performing with him for that lengthy period of time. Were there any songs of his that were super new to you, or ones that you ended up falling in love with because, you sort of learned them for the first time?
Wow. It's funny because I haven't listened to those songs since then. When it was over, it was over.
Yeah.
And I just closed. So I can't even tell you which ones that I loved. There were a lot that I didn't know. Like the Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota. I was surprised that he did that on the tour because it's so long. And so that was, there was just the challenge of memorizing long, not the verses, thank goodness, but every song. Well, some of them I'd seen because I'd seen his tours over the years.
Sure.
So, Devo, I'd seen it a lot. There were some surprising ones. I felt bad that we didn't get to do the Michael Jackson because Fat.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Is one of my all-time favorites. I think it's such a fun song. And
sure.
It got really hot. It was a super hot summer. And we had several days of shows outside where it would be like 90 degrees and 90% humidity. So just for them to get in and out of those neoprene Devo suits was hard enough. And then doing the whole Yoda, the Star Wars ending with the stormtroopers, and I felt bad about them. And then Darth Vader coming out in his wool outfit. But the band was wearing wool, basically, layers and layers of their Star Wars outfits, and nobody fell, but I thought, wow, this is a dehydration risk. I said nobody fainted. Us girls could wear very little if we wanted to, so we could stay cooler.
Sure.
But there were some nights where I thought, ooh, this is dangerous. It's really hard. But they just, show must go on, and nobody fainted, so it's all good. So I can't think of all the other ones, but I didn't get to see a lot of the videos that were playing behind us.
Sure, yeah.
So occasionally, like in a sound check or something, I'd turn around, I didn't know that was playing behind us. And I like that we'd get off stage and have little costume changes, whether it was a Devo hat or one of my favorites of his is the White and Nerdy. It's just
sure.
awesome. And he does it so well, and we'd wear the glasses. That was a lot of fun to do. There was another one that just came in and out of my brain that was very challenging, but I love it. Was the blurred? What is it? Not blurred lines. It's
Word Crimes. Yeah.
Word Crimes. What a genius song that is!
Wow. Yeah.
And then he'd get out in the audience, and he'd just get all out in people's faces. He'd be in people's laps, and I had sung on Tacky, and which is I love Happy, the original one. I thought was my favorite pop song for a long time. Is my favorite. I just adore it. And when he did Tacky, and I got to sing on it, and to be able to do that at night, every night, that was that really got me. It's like, yeah, that's my song. That song.
I love it. That's a delight. I want to ask you, because we always like to ask people, if you can condense why give You Don't Have to Be Jewish a listen into a few sentences, what's a good reason to give this a listen? Sometimes it's an easy question, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of it's just, is there a universal funny or not? If I don't, maybe you have to be a certain kind of person to think it's funny. Would a guy from Africa think it's funny? I don't know. I think it's a very American, and it's charming, and it's the words are, everything is there for a reason.
Yeah.
And the delivery is as good as it gets. Yeah. So if you like comedy, and you like American comedy, which is what I'm going to assume your listening audience is into, I promise you, there's no way you're not going to like it. So just take my word for it. Listen, write me, tell me how much you liked it. And also the notes on YouTube, this was people would say, and I felt this way too, this was the soundtrack of my childhood.
Right.
That was my favorite note. I mean, are there other people who can say that about a comedy record?
Right.
This was the soundtrack of my childhood. I mean, I'm all verklempt, which is actually not really a Yiddish word, but thank you anyway, Mike Meyer, for that one. Did I answer it okay?
Yes, of course you did. No, you answered it perfectly, I think. And it's one of those things where I could not tell you why it works so well for me. These are my kinds of jokes. And again, as a little boy, I thought I had to be Jewish. It says you don't have to be, but as a child, I really did think I had to be Jewish to become a comedian. Lisa, thank you so much. Why don't you tell people, this is going to come out this week, so why don't you tell people where they can find you and your classes, and if you've got any projects coming up?
My website is Popeil.com, and that's spelled Popeil.com. Just remember, there's no pie in Popeil. Mm-hmm. And it's about my teaching, and I have a lot of products and videos, CDs, and books, but they're all about learning to sing. Mm-hmm. What else do I have out there? I've been doing a lot of webinars recently, so you can contact me if you're interested in singing. If you're interested in just knowing where I am, like this year I was supposed to be traveling all over Europe. Today I was in London. And last month, 3 weeks ago, I was in Grenoble, France. And I also canceled conferences and workshops in San Antonio, Philadelphia. My Zappa Festival performance in November in Oslo, Norway, just got canceled. I still have Antalya, Turkey on the schedule for October, but that may not happen either. I'm no more with my travel this year. I'll make up for it next year. But I have a little thing called the World's Tiniest Vocal Newsletter, and it's a way for me to keep in touch with everybody. And they can, I like to talk to people. I like to feel connected. So if you want to write me and say how do, I'll write you back.
I love it. Thank you so much for doing this show. This has been really nice.
Fun. Really fun.
Thank you guys for listening. Just go to StolenDress.com. That's where all my other podcasts are. Listen to The Professional Blur, which is all about extra work and work in TV commercials, background work. And the first season is about to end, so go to ProfessionalBlur.com for that. Thank you all for listening, and as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of StolenDress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. You can email us at podcast@comedyonvinyl.com. You can also send snail mail to StolenDress Entertainment, P.O. Box 805, Burbank, California, 91503. Subscribe to Comedy on Vinyl on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It helps. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Comedy on Vinyl, or find everything in one place at comedyonvinyl.com. A major portion of Comedy on Vinyl has been underwritten by Stand Up Records. Please visit standuprecords.com for all your comedy needs and tune in to the new Stand Up Records channel available on the Roku, where you can also find select episodes of this podcast. Visit StolenDress.com to listen to our other podcasts, watch videos, and imbibe freely of our multimedia content going back 15 plus years. StolenDress Entertainment.
Hey, it's my turn. Ah!